The alien leader stared in terror. Humans are not normal. Part 1, First Contact. High Commander stood on the bridge of his warship and looked at the small blue planet on the screen. It was a beautiful world. Blue oceans, green land, white clouds floating in the sky. It looked peaceful and weak. Smiled. His people had conquered 37 species across the galaxy. They were tall beings with skin and 4 arms. They had advanced weapons, fast ships, and no mercy. Every planet they visited became part of their empire. This small world called Earth would be no different. "How many ships do we have?" asked his second officer. 500 warships, Commander. More than enough for a primitive species. Nodded. The humans had only recently discovered space travel. They had no real weapons, no shields, no experience with war beyond their own planet. This would be easy, a week at most. "Send the message," ordered. The communication officer pressed several buttons. A signal went out to every human device on the planet, every television, every radio, every phone. The message was simple. "People of Earth, you are now part of the Empire. Surrender your planet. Give us your resources. Serve us and you will live. Fight us and you will die. You have 1 hour to respond." Waited. He expected panic. He expected crying leaders begging for mercy. He expected the humans to do what every other species had done: give up. 1 hour passed. A response came. A young woman appeared on the screen. She had black hair and calm eyes. Her name was, and she was a diplomat from a country called Korea. "Greetings, Commander," she said. Her voice was steady. "We received your message, we discussed it, and we decline your offer." Blinked all 4 of his eyes. "You decline?" "Yes, we will not surrender. We will not give you our planet, but we are willing to negotiate. Perhaps we can find a peaceful solution that benefits both our peoples." Laughed. It was a cold, harsh sound. "You do not understand, human. There is no negotiation. There is only obedience or death." Smiled. It was a strange smile, not afraid, almost sad. "Then I am sorry for what comes next for both of us." The screen went dark. Felt a small spark of anger. How dare these creatures refuse him? He had destroyed entire civilizations. He had burned worlds to ash. And this small woman on this small planet dared to say no. "Target their largest coastal city," he ordered. "Show them what happens when they refuse the Empire." The weapons officer hesitated. "Commander, our scans show millions of people in that city. Should we not give them more time to evacuate?" "No, they need to learn fear." The weapons fired. Beams of pure energy shot down from orbit. Buildings exploded. Fire spread across the streets. The attack lasted only 30 seconds, but the damage was terrible. Watched with satisfaction. Now they would understand. Now they would beg. But something strange happened. Within hours, the humans began moving, not running in panic, not hiding in fear. They were organizing. Buses and trains carried people away from the coast. Helicopters flew in and out of the smoke. Ships carried survivors across the water. A military commander named appeared on their screens. He was a middle-aged man with a serious face and quick eyes. He was giving orders without stopping. "Move the elderly first. Set up medical camps here. Send food trucks there." They evacuated the entire city in 6 hours, the intelligence officer reported. His voice was confused. "Our models predicted it would take them 3 days minimum." Frowned. "Impossible." "The data is clear, Commander. They moved 4 million people in 6 hours. They are still moving them, and they are already building shelters." This was unexpected, but it did not matter. Ordered ground troops to land and secure territory. 10,000 soldiers dropped to Earth's surface. They expected terrified civilians and weak resistance. They found something else. The first reports came back within hours. A captain sent a message with shaking hands. "Commander, the humans are fighting back. They do not have our weapons, but they are not stopping. We shot one of their soldiers 7 times. She kept coming. She killed 3 of our men before she finally fell, and even then she was still trying to crawl toward us. Listen to more reports. A group of farmers attacked a patrol with simple hunting weapons. They had no training, no armor, no chance of winning. They attacked anyway. An old man drove his vehicle directly into a transport. He died smiling. These creatures, the captain reported, they do not behave like prey. They fight like something I have never seen before. Sat in his command chair and studied the reports. Something cold began to grow in his chest. It was not fear, not yet, but it was the beginning of doubt. He looked at the blue planet again. It still looked peaceful and beautiful, but now he wondered what was hiding beneath those white clouds and blue waters. What kind of species refused to surrender when they had no hope of winning? What kind of creatures fought with wounds that should have killed them? On the surface stood in a makeshift command center. His uniform was dirty. He had not slept in 2 days, but his eyes were bright. "How many volunteers?" he asked. "Thousands, sir. More coming every hour, people from every country. They want to fight." Nodded. He looked up at the sky where the alien ships floated like dark clouds. "Good," he said quietly. "They think this will be easy. They think we will break. They have no idea what humans are capable of, but they will learn." Above the planet began planning his next attack. He did not know it yet, but his easy conquest had just become a war, and it was a war he was not prepared for. The humans were not normal, and he was only beginning to understand what that meant. The alien leader stared in terror. "Humans are not normal." Part 2. The Impossible Survivors. 3 months had passed since the invasion began. High Commander sat alone in his quarters and stared at the casualty reports. The numbers were wrong. They had to be wrong. The Empire had conquered 37 species. They had never lost more than 5% of their forces in any invasion. On Earth, they had lost 23%. Read the reports again and again. His soldiers were dying, not from advanced weapons. The humans did not have those. They were dying from bullets and fire and explosions. Simple, primitive weapons that should not work against armor. But the humans found ways. They always found ways. A human soldier named had become famous among the troops. Not famous for her kills. Famous for something much more disturbing. She refused to die. The reports about her were impossible. In the first month, she was shot 3 times during a battle. She kept fighting for 2 more hours until the retreated. She walked to the medical camp by herself. In the second month, a building fell on her during an airstrike. She was buried under concrete and metal for 3 days. No food, no water, just darkness and broken bones. When the rescue team found her, she was still alive. She was carrying 2 injured teammates on her back. She had dug them out with her bare hands. "It is impossible," the science officer told. "Her injuries should have killed her. The lack of water alone should have killed her, but her body refused to stop. Her heart kept beating. Her muscles kept working. She should be dead, but she is already back on the battlefield." Did not understand. How is this possible? What are they? The science officer brought up data on his screen. "We have studied their biology, Commander. Humans produce chemicals in their body when they are in danger. These chemicals give them extra strength, extra speed, extra endurance. In most species, these chemicals are dangerous. Too much can stop the heart. So they should die from their own stress." "Yes, but humans have evolved to handle levels that would kill any other known species. When they are afraid, they become stronger. When they are injured, they become more determined. Their bodies are designed to survive the unsurvivable." Felt that cold feeling in his chest again. It was growing stronger now. He was starting to understand that something was very wrong about this invasion. He decided to visit the prisoner camps. He needed to see these creatures with his own eyes. The camp held 300 human prisoners, soldiers mostly. Some civilians who had been captured during raids expected to see broken spirits, defeated eyes. That was what prisoners looked like. Every species was the same when they lost hope. But the humans were not the same. They sat in groups, talking and laughing. Some of them were singing. One group was playing a game with stones and lines drawn in the dirt. A young woman was teaching an older man some kind of hand signal language. Walked through the camp and the humans watched him. Their eyes were not defeated. They were studying him, learning him, waiting. In the medical section, he found a man named. He was a medic who had been captured during a battle. His left arm was badly injured, the bone broken in 3 places. He should have been crying in pain. Instead, he was performing surgery on another prisoner. Watched in silence as used a piece of metal sharpened into a blade. He had torn his own shirt into strips for bandages. He was removing a piece of shrapnel from another man's leg. His hands were steady. His face was calm. "Stop," ordered. Looked up, his eyes met without fear. "No. You will stop or I will have you killed. Then kill me, but I will not let my friend die because you are too proud to let me save him." Turned back to his work. His hands never shook. Could have given the order. He should have given the order, but something stopped him. He watched finish the surgery, clean the wound and bandage it with steady hands. The patient opened his eyes. "Did you save me?" Smiled. "Of course, that is what I do." Left the camp without speaking. His guards followed him in silence. They had all seen the same thing. They had all felt the same confusion. That night called a meeting with his advisors. "Why do they not despair?" he asked. "They are prisoners, they have lost. Why do they still hope?" No one could answer. The intelligence officer spoke carefully. "Commander, we have intercepted their communications. Even the prisoners believe they will be rescued. They tell each other stories. They make plans for what they will do after the war. They speak of victory as if it is certain. That is madness. They cannot win. We have better technology, more soldiers, more ships." "Yes, Commander, but they do not seem to know they cannot win, or perhaps they do not care." Thought about climbing out of a collapsed building with 2 people on her back. He thought about performing surgery with a piece of metal and strips of cloth. He thought about the prisoners singing and playing games. These creatures did not follow the rules. Every other species understood when they were beaten. They surrendered. They gave up. They accepted their fate. But humans refused. They kept fighting when fighting was pointless. They kept hopping when hope was gone. They kept living when living was impossible. Looked out the window at the planet below. 3 months ago, he had thought this would be easy. Now he was not sure of anything. On the surface was leading another mission. Her arm was still in a sling from her last injury. The doctors had told her to rest for 2 weeks. "Are you sure you should be fighting?" her teammate asked. Checked her weapon and smiled. "Rest is for after we win." She moved into the darkness toward the enemy camp. Her body hurt. Her muscles screamed. But she did not stop. Humans never stopped. And High Commander was beginning to understand that this was not an invasion anymore. It was a war, a real war, and for the first time in his long career, he was not sure his side would win. The alien leader stared in terror. "Humans are not normal." Part 3. Hunters become hunted. 6 months into the invasion, something changed. The soldiers stopped asking to be sent to Earth. Now they asked to stay on the ships. They made excuses. They reported false illnesses. Some of them simply refused to board the transport vessels. High Commander had never seen anything like it. His soldiers were the pride of the Empire. They had conquered 37 worlds without fear. Now they were afraid of a single planet. "Explain," demanded at the morning meeting. "Why are our soldiers refusing deployment?" The military advisor looked uncomfortable. "Commander, the humans have changed their tactics. In the first months, they fought us directly. Now they are using something else. They call it guerrilla warfare. Explain this word. They hide, they strike without warning. They disappear. Our soldiers never know when an attack will come. They walk through empty forests and suddenly there are explosions. They enter quiet villages and suddenly there are bullets. The humans appear from nowhere and vanish into nothing. Frowned, we have advanced sensors, we have thermal imaging. How can they hide from us? They have learned our technology, Commander. They cover themselves in mud to hide their heat. They move through tunnels we cannot detect. They use the terrain against us. Mountains, forests, rivers, caves. They know their planet, we do not. The advisor brought up footage on the screen. It showed a patrol walking through a forest. The trees were thick and dark. Everything was quiet. Then, in a flash, fire erupted from all directions. The patrol was destroyed in 30 seconds. The camera, somehow still recording, showed a figure emerging from the trees. It was an old woman with hair and a rifle in her hands. She was smiling. Her name was, before the invasion, she had been a school teacher. She was 63 years old. She taught history and poetry to children. Now she led one of the most dangerous resistance cells on the planet. Studied the reports about her. In 6 months, her group had destroyed 14 supply stations. They had killed over 200 soldiers. They had rescued prisoners from 3 different camps. Her group was small, 30 people at most. They were not professional soldiers. They were farmers and shopkeepers and retired workers. One of them was an accountant named who had never held a weapon before the invasion. Now could fly a combat shuttle. How did he learn this? Demanded when he saw the footage. A human flying their advanced ship through a narrow mountain canyon at impossible speeds. He watched videos, the intelligence officer replied. When they captured one of our shuttles, he studied the controls. He practiced. For how long? 4 days. Said nothing. He watched the footage again, flew the alien craft like he had been born in it. He dodged missiles. He spun through gaps that should have been too narrow. He flew upside down and backward. Professional pilots had trained for years to fly like that. This human accountant had learned in 4 days. What are they? Whispered. On the surface, was planning her next attack. Her group had made camp in an old cave system. The walls were cold and damp. Water dripped from the ceiling. It was uncomfortable and dark. Did not mind. She had slept in worse places during the occupation. They all had. The enemy has a supply convoy coming tomorrow, she said, pointing to a hand-drawn map. 20 vehicles, food, weapons, medical supplies. If we take it, we can give the supplies to the refugee camps. Studied the map. The canyon here. I can fly above it, draw their attention upward. When they look at me, you attack from the sides. You will be in danger. Shrugged, I am always in danger. We all are. That is life now. A younger woman named spoke up. She was only 19. Before the invasion, she had been a university student studying art. Now she was one of the best fighters. Teacher, she said, using the old title, are you sure about this? They have increased patrols. They are looking for us. Smiled. It was a kind smile, but there was iron behind it. Let them look. Let them patrol. Let them use all their technology and all their soldiers. We know these mountains. We know these forests. We were born here. This is our home. She touched his shoulder gently. When I was your age, I studied the history of our people. We have faced invasion before. Again and again, powerful armies came to our land. Again and again, we survived. We are still here. The invaders are gone. But these invaders have ships, weapons we cannot match. Weapons do not win wars. People win wars. Hearts win wars. Will wins wars. Eyes were bright despite her age. We have something they do not understand. We will never surrender. We will never accept them. We will fight for 1 year or 10 years or 100 years, however long it takes. The next day, the attack went exactly as planned. Flew the captured shuttle over the canyon, spinning and diving to draw attention. Every vehicle looked up, their weapons pointing at the sky. From the canyon walls, fighters opened fire. The battle lasted 8 minutes. When it was over, the humans had captured 18 vehicles and enough supplies to feed 3 refugee camps for a month. Landed the shuttle nearby, grinning. That was fun. Shook her head, but she was smiling too. You are a crazy old man. I am 52. That is not old. It is old enough to know better. They laughed together as they loaded the supplies. Around them, farmers and students and accountants worked side by side. They were tired, they were scared, but they were still fighting. On his warship, watched the satellite footage of the attack. Another defeat, another humiliation. His hands gripped the armrests of his command chair until his knuckles turned white. They are getting stronger, his advisor said quietly. Every week, more humans join the resistance. Every week, our soldiers become more afraid. Said nothing. He thought about the old woman with the rifle, the accountant flying through the mountains, the student who could fight without fear. Something was very wrong. He was the hunter. He had always been the hunter. But on this planet, he was starting to feel like prey. The alien leader stared in terror. Humans are not normal. Part 4: The Terrible Truth. 9 months into the invasion, High Commander ordered a full scientific study of humanity. He needed to understand these creatures. He needed to know what he was really fighting. The report arrived on his desk 3 weeks later. It was long and detailed. Read it alone in his quarters. With each page, the cold feeling in his chest grew stronger. By the end, he was truly afraid. The report began simply. Earth is a death world. Had never heard this term before. He kept reading. The report explained that most habitable planets in the galaxy were calm, stable temperatures, gentle weather, peaceful ecosystems. Life evolved slowly and carefully on such worlds. Earth was not like those planets. Earth had extreme temperatures. Some places were so hot that the ground could burn skin. Other places were so cold that water turned to stone. The planet tilted on its axis, creating seasons that changed everything 4 times every year. The weather was violent. Massive storms could destroy entire cities. Walls of water crashed onto coasts. Columns of spinning wind tore buildings from the ground. Fire swept across forests with no warning. The animals were dangerous. Predators with sharp teeth hunted in every environment. Poison creatures lived on every continent. The oceans were filled with monsters that could swallow a shuttle whole. Even the plants were deadly. Some produced poison that could kill with a touch. Others grew thorns and spines to cut anything that came close. And somehow, impossibly, humans had survived all of this. Not just survived, they had become the dominant species. Read with growing horror as the report described human evolution. They had evolved to be persistent hunters. They did not chase prey with speed. They followed it for hours, sometimes days, until it collapsed from exhaustion. No other species in the galaxy did this. Their bodies were designed for pain. They could break bones and keep moving. They could lose blood and keep fighting. They could push past limits that would kill any. But the physical differences were not the most frightening part. The mental differences were worse. The report described something called pack bonding. Humans formed emotional connections with almost anything. Other humans, animals, objects, even ideas. And once they formed these bonds, they would do anything to protect them. Anything. A researcher named demonstrated this perfectly. Was a scientist who had been captured during a raid on a human laboratory. The wanted information about human weapons development. They interrogated her for 3 weeks. They used pain. They used threats. They used every technique that had broken prisoners from 37 other species. Said nothing. After 3 weeks, an interrogator asked her a simple question. How do you endure this? Why do you not talk? You could end your suffering with a few words. looked at him with steady eyes. Her body was broken, but her spirit was not. "Someone is coming for me," she said. "My friends, my family, someone is coming, and until they arrive I will give you nothing." The interrogator laughed. "No one knows where you are. We moved you 3 times. Rescue is impossible." Smiled. It was a gentle smile, like a teacher explaining something simple to a child who did not understand. "You do not know humans very well," she said. 3 days later, a man named reached the camp. He was a researcher like. They had worked together for 5 years. He was not a soldier. He had no combat training. He had never fired a weapon before the invasion. But was his friend. So he traveled 200 kilometers through enemy territory. Alone, on foot, hiding during the day, moving at night. He ate roots and insects. He drank rainwater from leaves. He nearly died 4 times. When he finally reached the camp, he was caught immediately, but not before he sent a signal with location. The rescue team arrived the next day. They freed all the prisoners. The interrogator questioned before he escaped. "Why did you do this? You knew you would probably die. You knew the odds were against you. Why would you risk everything for one person?" Looked confused by the question. "She is my friend," he said simply. "What else would I do?" Finished reading the report. His 4 hands were shaking. He understood now. He finally understood. Humans did not follow the rules because they had different rules. They did not surrender when they should because the concept of acceptable defeat did not exist for them. They fought impossible battles because they loved each other too much to stop. This was not a weakness. It was a strength beyond anything the Empire had ever faced. Called his advisors for an emergency meeting. "We cannot win this war," he said. The room went silent. No one moved, no one breathed. "Commander," his military advisor said carefully, "we have more soldiers, better weapons, superior technology." "None of that matters." Stood and walked to the window. Earth floated below, beautiful and terrible. "We are fighting a species that will never stop. Even if we kill half of them, the other half will keep fighting. Even if we kill 90%, the survivors will keep fighting. They will fight until the last human breathes their last breath. Then we will kill them all." Shook his head. "That would take decades. And during those decades, what do you think they will be doing? Sitting and waiting? No, they are already studying our technology. They are learning, adapting, growing stronger." He turned to face his advisors. His eyes were tired. 37 species we have conquered. All of them understood when they were beaten. All of them surrendered when the cost became too high. He paused. Humans do not think that way. There is no cost too high. There is no battle they will not fight. They are not normal. The room remained silent. "We have awakened something on this planet," said quietly. "Something that should have been left alone. And now I fear it is too late to put it back to sleep." On Earth's surface, hugged outside the medical tent, they were both crying, they were both laughing. "You came for me," she whispered. "Of course I did," he replied. "I always would." Above them, alien ships filled the sky. The war was not over. The future was uncertain. But humans had each other, and that was enough. The alien leader stared in terror. "Humans are not normal." Part 5: Retreat and Reckoning. 1 year after the invasion began, High Commander stood on the bridge of his warship and stared at the planet below. The same planet he had looked at 12 months ago. The same blue oceans. The same white clouds. The same green land. Everything looked the same. But everything had changed. He had arrived with 500 warships and 500,000 soldiers. He had expected an easy victory, a quick conquest, another species to add to the Empire's collection. Now he had 300 warships left. 60% of his soldiers were dead, injured, or too afraid to fight. He controlled no major territory on the planet. Every base he built was attacked. Every camp he established was raided. Every day, more of his soldiers died. And the humans were getting stronger. They had learned to use weapons. They had learned to fly ships. They had built new weapons based on stolen technology. Scientists worked day and night, unlocking secrets that should have taken them decades to discover. Intelligence officer had shown him the projections. If the war continued, the humans would achieve interstellar travel within 20 years, maybe less. They were learning too fast, adapting too quickly. "Commander," his communication officer said, "we are receiving a transmission from the planet." Nodded, "Show me." A young woman appeared on the screen. Her name was, and she was the new president of the Human Coalition. She was only 34 years old, young by human standards, young by any standards. But her eyes were old. She had dark circles under them, bandages wrapped around her hands. Her clothes were simple and practical. Behind her could see a room full of humans. They were working at computers, reading reports, planning operations. Even now, even while talking to him, they did not stop. "High Commander," said. Her voice was calm and clear. "Thank you for accepting this communication." Studied her face. He looked for weakness, for fear, for any sign that she was ready to surrender. He found nothing. "I am listening," he said. "Good," took a breath. "I have a proposal for you, a simple one. Leave our planet, take your ships, take your soldiers, go home, and we will not follow you." Almost laughed. "You are offering us mercy, you the conquered species." "We are not conquered, we never were." His voice did not change. She spoke like she was stating a simple fact. "We have fought your empire for 1 year. We have destroyed 200 of your ships. We have killed hundreds of thousands of your soldiers, and every day we grow stronger. You have also lost millions of your people." "Yes." Eyes flickered with pain, but her voice remained steady. "We have, and we will lose more, but we will keep fighting for 10 years, for 50 years, for 100 years, however long it takes." Said nothing. "I know you have studied us," continued. "I know your scientists have written reports about our planet, our biology, our psychology. So you know I am telling the truth. You know we will never stop." She leaned forward slightly. Her eyes locked onto his through the screen. "Leave now and this ends. Continue this war and it will never end. We will eventually build ships. We will find your home worlds. We will follow you across the galaxy." She paused. "And we will remember. Humans always remember." The silence stretched between them. Thought about everything he had seen over the past year, refusing to die, performing surgery with a piece of metal, leading her resistance fighters through the mountains, learning to fly in 4 days, crossing enemy territory alone to save his friend. And now this young woman, offering him peace while promising eternal war. "What are you?" asked. His voice was quiet, almost a whisper. Tilted her head. For a moment she looked like the young woman she was, tired, hurt, carrying a weight that no one should have to carry. Then she smiled. "We are human," she said. "We fall down and we get back up. We break and we heal. We lose and we keep fighting. It is what we do. It is who we are." The screen went dark. Sat in silence for a long time. His advisors waited. His officers waited. Everyone waited to see what he would do. Finally he stood. "Recall all ground forces," he ordered. "Begin evacuation procedures." His military advisor stepped forward. "Commander, the Empire will not be pleased. They will see this as a defeat." "It is a defeat." Turned to face them all. His 4 eyes were tired. His face was lined with new wrinkles. "We have lost. I have lost. And I would rather admit it now than watch the rest of our soldiers die on that planet. But the Empire. The Empire does not know what they are dealing with. I do." Walked toward the door. He stopped before leaving and looked back at his officers. "I will write a report for the Council. I will tell them the truth. This planet is not worth the cost of taking it. And these creatures, these humans, must never be threatened again." "What will you tell them?" Thought for a moment. He thought about everything he had seen and learned. He thought about the impossible survivors, the hunters who became hunted, the terrible truth about what humanity really was. "I will tell them this," he said slowly. "Humans are not normal. They love too fiercely. They hope too stubbornly. They fight too long. Do not wake them. Do not give them a reason to look at the stars with anger in their hearts. For if you do, they will come, and they will not stop until they find you." He left the bridge. 3 days later, the fleet retreated from Earth's orbit. They left behind their dead, their destroyed ships, and their pride. They jumped to faster-than-light speed and disappeared into the darkness between stars. On Earth, people looked up at the empty sky. They had won. Against all odds, against every prediction, against an enemy with superior technology and greater numbers, they had won. Stood outside the Coalition headquarters. The sun was setting, painting the sky in orange and gold. Around her, people were crying, hugging, celebrating. Walked up beside her. He was older now, but he was smiling. "We did it," he said. Nodded. "We did. What happens now?" She looked up at the sky, at the stars that were just beginning to appear. Somewhere out there, the Empire was sailing home. Somewhere out there, other species were watching and learning about the planet called Earth. "Now we rebuild," said. "We heal. We remember those we lost." She paused. "And we build ships." Looked at her with surprise. "Ships? We just won a war. Why would we want to go out there?" His eyes were steady, determined, unbroken. "Because they came to our home. They hurt our people. And while I offered them peace, I also made them a promise." She smiled, and it was the smile of a species that had stared into the darkness and refused to look away. Humans always keep their promises. Above them the stars shone bright and cold, full of mystery, full of danger, full of possibilities. The war was over. But the story of humanity among the stars was just beginning.